and welcome to Dax Chats. In this episode, I'm getting to speak to a Victorian artist who is just brilliant. His songwriting is unlike anybody else I've known. He has been likened to the likes of John Williamson and Paul Kelly. His brand new album is called The Weir, and his latest single is called Be There. Today, Dax Chats to Michael Waugh, and here he is. G'day, Michael. How are you, buddy?
Not too bad, Dave. Yeah, it's good. It's a bit, it's pretty nice afternoon here in Victoria. So, yeah, feeling good. Feeling
That's
good.
good.
It's, grand final eve, actually, here. So,
Absolutely. Richmond versus the Richmond Tigers versus Geelong Cats. There you go.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And it's
yeah.
being played at the Gabba, which is pretty weird for for the AFL.
That's okay, because we still got the public holiday here in Melbourne. So that's all that I care about.
Oh, that's good. That's amazing. So that in itself's been strange, having all of the AFL move to Queensland because of the pandemic and finish off the season. How have you been going? Because you just told me off screen that you're a full-time teacher. So how have you
Yeah.
been going through the pandemic? You've, sort of lost a lot of work. You've done online teaching. How's it been?
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, I've had a job, which has been great because there's a lot of people who don't.
Mm.
I've deeply missed getting out and playing. I mean, I think I had tours through Queensland, New South Wales, Western Australia, South Australia, country Victoria, all like everything cancelled in that time. So I missed that opportunity to get out and connect with people because I write songs that they're very personal story songs, and often when I sing about those places that I come from, it's been really lovely because people have been reminded of their own stories. So I missed that opportunity to get out and play and hear those stories from other people. But I have to say, like, given how hard kids have done it and parents have done it with their kids trying to learn online, it's been really lovely to be, not a frontline worker in the same way that our doctors and nurses have been, but to contribute to the community in some way by helping people through a tough time. So that's been great. So I'm proud of the work that I've done, and it's kept me out of trouble.
It's it's exactly the same as me. This what I'm doing here is just keeping me out of trouble.
Yeah.
Look, I've followed you since the Asphalt and the Oval. You've had another album before that. Every song that I've listened to from you is a story. It is personal, as you say. They are brilliantly written. I haven't found anything that I don't like from you. And of course, when I spoke to Jules about, getting you on board, Jules was like, this is my favorite artist. So
she's amazing, Jules. I met her in Tamworth, and I just kind of immediately thought this is a really special human being. And she actually came up to me after a show. And she was crying and like really moved by one of the stories that I'd written. And when I contacted her to see if she'd work with me, she said she had a really personal connection with one of my songs that was loved by her uncle when her uncle passed away. It was actually played at his funeral. So I just go, like, I'm lucky to work with a publicist that is that great, but it's also that she has this really personal connection with my music, and she's become a really good mate. So
absolutely, very good. So your latest album is called The Weir. Couple of songs that I want to talk about. First of all is this song reminds me. Now that's brilliant. It takes you back on a journey of even my life. That's
Yeah.
just brilliant. You go through all these song references and artist references that were part of my life as well. So people in Australia can definitely relate to that song really well, especially at my age.
Yeah. Well, it was like a love letter to all those great artists who inspired me. Like I grew up in Maffra, but when we moved out to the farm, we initially moved to Newry, which was, it's too far to ride on a BMX into town. So you
Mm,
kind of were separated from lots of the world.
mm.
And I'll give you the red hot tip: there was no touring artist to Maffra.
Oh,
So
sure. Mm,
so my window on the world of culture was Countdown and
mm,
Molly Meldrum, who
mm,
kind of would mutter something incoherent about, doing myself a favour and tuning into these artists.
mm,
And I remember those Sunday nights watching Countdown and these, young guys who weren't all that much older than me, surrounded by screams of adoration.
mm,
And it wasn't just the love that they received, but the fact that they sounded like us.
mm,
And that's kind of what really inspired me. It was like a possibility of what I might be when I grew up.
mm, mm,
And I think lots of Aussie kids were kind of inspired by that sound. And so when I went to make the record, the Weir with Shane Nicholson, I said, I want all of our reference points to be those great Aussie artists
mm,
because it is a sound that is so us. And I'm not like saying anything derogatory towards the artist now, but I do think that there was something about that time that was just very special in terms of that program Countdown,
mm,
the way that Aussie artists were supported through RSLs and pubs, maybe in a way that they're not necessarily now,
mm.
and that there was kind of a real career to be had in music, and that's how we developed our culture. And I'm proud to be a part of it.
I agree with you. I think, one of the things, many people say is that Australia is a sporting nation, but I think during that 80s, 90s period, Australia, well, 70s, 80s, and 90s, Australia was very much a music orientated environment. We grew up on that, and it was pub gigs, as you say, RSL gigs. It was a great life to be had.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm, So I get your point, and I get how times have changed and how music doesn't seem so important to the generations these days because we've got streaming platforms, we've got this and that,
yeah,
and it's just all throwaway stuff now. Where I think
yeah.
back then it truly meant something.
But I think too that there is something about our culture that, like, we look to American culture or British culture as being somehow more exotic or more
Mm,
special than us.
mm,
And the thing I love about that period in Aussie music was that we were kind of like, just, it's like, oh yeah, this is what we sound like.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And I do think that there is kind of a lie that young musicians are told that you've got to sound generic and you've got to sound like everyone else.
mm, mm,
And there's something wrong about sounding like an Australian.
mm,
And I
mm,
think that there's real beauty and poetry and drive and fun
mm,
in our culture.
mm,
And I love that I'm part of a tradition because I think that country music does this,
mm.
is it celebrates culture in the
It
same
does.
way that, like American culture, American country music is unashamedly wants to talk about in their accent
Mm, mm.
about things that are important to
To
them.
them, yep,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and it sounds exotic to us as Aussies, but
Mm.
like I think that we have really special stories to tell too.
Absolutely.
And
I just I
yeah,
just I just co-wrote a song a couple of days ago with Glenn Bidmead called Expo '88. So thinking way back to World Expo '88. There you go.
yeah, the celebration of a nation. Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember that.
yeah.
Yeah, my parents flew up to the Gold Coast to be a part of it. I still remember that very exciting trip for them. Yeah. Expo 88. There you go.
It's a funny story because Glenn and myself, for different reasons, both ended up in Queensland, both in Brisbane, in that year for Expo 88, and so the story revolves around us getting to there and the reasons how we got there, and so I think it's going to be a good song. We're just
Right.
getting it produced now, so that'd be great. Now, your latest track is called Be There. Talk me through the latest track.
Well, yeah, I recorded it. Well, first of all, I wrote it as a part of the story about my son. So my son, he was down the coast with some friends. It was New Year's Eve. He had a really bad falling out with his mates, and he was without asthma medication and without friends and without a place to stay. And he kind of called me up and did that, save me, Dad, I need your help. And so it was like, waking up in the middle of the night and jumping in the car and driving, I think it was about 2.5 hours to get to where he was. So it's a song about, the things that we do to be there for the people that we love. And over the last 12 months or 18 months, it's kind of taken on a new meaning for me since recording the song. My mum and dad both passed away earlier this year, and they lived in Gippsland. I live in Melbourne, so it was a good 3 hours drive away. So for us, it was, like I was getting those calls at 3, 4, 5 in the morning, like drop everything and run, come and be there. And so you did. And the song is like a little anthem to keep you going along that path, along that road. And we released the song on the 4th of September, which would have been Mum's 70th birthday. So it was kind of a tribute to her and the way that she'd always been there for us, and a reminder about those trips.
That's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. I did see that your parents had passed away earlier this year. My father also passed away in May of this year. Yeah. So,
I'm sorry, Dave. Yeah.
and that was really bad because we were in the middle of COVID, and we couldn't. I'm in China and he's back in New South Wales, and I couldn't even go. I couldn't even get there.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, I mean, that's probably the only. My dad passed in January and Mum passed in March. So for us, we got to say goodbye to them and to have that big celebration for them with their community. And I can't imagine what it would have been like for them to have gone in the time of COVID, because, yeah, I know the day that Mum passed, she had her best friend was there visiting and just sat with her while she passed away, because it happened very suddenly in the end. And Mum was terrified of being alone, so I can't imagine what it would have been like for your dad to not do it.
It was just, I don't know. It's weird. It is weird. It has been a weird year, unfortunately. We have been through this strange thing that the world hasn't seen for over 100 years. This COVID pandemic has struck us all in very different ways. How's it been for you? As far, obviously, you've bought the album out, you've bought the singles out, but you haven't really been able to go out and perform anything and tour. So how's that been for you?
Well, at the beginning of the year, because the album came out in September last year. So yeah, so I was nominated Best Male Artist and Best Alt Country Album at the Golden Guitars in Tamworth. And that festival actually happened. My dad passed away on the 13th of January, and his funeral was not long after, and we were down in Tamworth on the 21st. So it was like really very soon after Dad passed that I was there. And to be honest with you, like I was going to cancel all of that touring early in the year, and the fact that I got to go, and because my brothers and my mum had said, no, you should go. So my wife and I came up to Tamworth, and we we just got to be there around people, and it was like everywhere that I went, there were friends, musicians who give me a hug and um, tell me that they were sorry about my loss, and people who only knew mum or dad through the music, who were really touched by it. But every gig that I did, and I did like 8 shows or something in a week, and it was like every show I was telling their story. So it was like really beautiful and a really lovely way to grieve, or to start that process of grieving. And then when mum passed, like it was just before the pandemic really hit Australia. So we got to say the goodbye, and it was literally a week after mum died that the school was closed and we all had to stay put. And I think that was probably really good for me as well, because otherwise I would have been out touring. Like I said, there was shows booked all over Australia, and I would have been teaching all week and then out working and running around like a mad thing. And so to have the opportunity to stay put with my wife, to go for walks with her, to have my guitar and just to write and to work through it, has been a really beautiful way, again, of grieving and remembering her. Because they passed so close together, it was almost like it was just like bang, like a year of crap. So I think it's only just recently that things have started to open up a bit, and there's the promise of getting out and playing some more shows next year, and there's the promise of getting back to school and helping kids. And
I did see that the schools are opening up again, which is a good indication, which is fantastic. And Scott Morrison has this promise in hand that borders should be open by Christmas. So
I bloody hope so, mate. Yeah, I bloody hope so. I started working on a new record with Shane Nicholson, who's based in the Central Coast up in New South Wales. And
I know that's where my mum is.
All right. I love that part of the world, because for me, it's always about visiting Shane and Emma and making music.
And there's so many artists up there, like Adam Harvey, Adam Eckersley, and Brooke McClimate, and it's the world of country music sort of sits on that Central Coast Hunter region.
The Central Hillbillies, mate. They're doing well.
Bill Chambers, that's right. He's up on the Central Coast too.
It's a beautiful part of the world, and also so different from the coastline that I'm used to in Victoria. We've that Port Phillip Bay here is like, it's not anything like the coastline up your way.
No. It's a very windy part of the world, I think, down there.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I do. But to be honest with you, I just really missed that process of learning about the things that I wrote through Shane, because I love the way that he sees rhythm and groove and color, and he sees music three-dimensionally. So it kind of is it's a beautiful process to see, these little stories that I write, and just see him create another shape for them. And the process for me is always about, here's this thing that I wrote in our bedroom or in the kitchen or whatever. And now I'm sitting in your studio, and you turn it into something beautiful, and then I relearn my own song through him. So it's great. And and two, I think that through with each successive record, because Shane has become someone who I'm very, very close to. It's like, when you have when you first start being friends with someone, like, there's only certain things that you'll share.
Yep.
And
then you start opening up as you get to
yeah,
know more about each other. That's right. Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
And that's kind of what it feels like with my relationship with him, is that I feel braver to say stuff on this record than what I ever have before.
Mm.
And I felt that with every record with him, that it's like, he said to me, actually, like with his last set of songs that I sent down to him, he goes, it's like, usually I'm, suggesting we cut a chord here or cut an instrumental there, or what, but he goes, I've almost got nothing for you in this one. It's just working on arrangement. And I said, yeah, because you become a voice in my head when I write now. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think, and that's a tribute to his musicianship, and how much I've learned from him.
Well, look, kudos to both you and Shane. I mean, like, Shane's an amazing character, and he's created some magic for you. These songs are absolutely beautiful. The album is phenomenal, and I do hope you go for another golden guitar well, I don't know if you got it. I didn't see the nominations this year.
Don't tell anyone I didn't get it, but that's all right, because I was like, I was the most highly lauded school teacher that year at the Golden Guitars, and it was like, and to be honest, like, I was actually in class when the nominations came through, so I was like, I was there, and I brought my phone into class,
Yeah.
and it was sitting on the desk, and I got this. I asked this kid Sam a question, and Sam was answering me. And just in the middle of him talking, my phone started going ballistic on the desk. I picked up the phone to switch it off, and on the screen it said, "Best Male Artist, Golden Guitar Awards." It was a message from my manager. So I put the phone down, and then didn't hear a bloody word that Sam said.
Yeah.
And at the end, I said, "Boys, I'm so sorry. Like, I just got. I shouldn't have had my phone on. I just got this really amazing news. I've just been nominated for a Golden Guitar Award." And one of the kids says, "Are you nominated with Lee Cardigan?" And I thought that was hilarious, because it was like, there you go. I think it's a pretty cool thing that I got nominated for something, but one of the biggest names in country music means kind of,
Oh, that's hilarious, man. That's
Yeah.
absolutely hilarious. Well, look, all the best with the album. As I said, phenomenal stuff. You're an amazing songwriter, and I respect everything that you've done. This album is purely phenomenal. The new single "Be There" is an awesome track. I can't rave enough about it. Sorry.
Thank
Um,
you.
so, congratulations on all your success, and I really look forward to what's next to come for you and Shane, I guess, because Shane makes the magic happen, eh?
He does. Yeah, I very much see it as being, like, we've just been nominated for a Music Victoria Award for this record.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
it's very much like, it just says my name there, but this is Shane's record too. So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. All right, mate. Well, thank you very much for your time today. It's been a pleasure talking to you finally. And I
Thanks,
do
Dave.
hope we can do it yet again and again and again and again as your career continues to soar.
Thanks, Dave. Thank you.
No worries. Ladies and gentlemen, that was uh, Michael Waugh. I almost said Mark Waugh. That was Michael Waugh, and his brand new album is called The Weir. The latest single off The Weir is, of course, Be There, which is playing on the Country Thunder Network. You can go to our website, which is up there, countrythunder.com.au, and you can request it straight from the player. Or what's more, you can vote for it in the Country Thunder 20. The voting form is at the top of the page. You can also go and stream all of his songs on Spotify, Apple Music, and all of that lovely stuff. My name is DJ Dax. You've been watching Dax Chats, and we're proudly supported by these guys right here, Neon Horse in Stanhope, Victoria. Bye for now.